Hello and welcome back to Pod Popper's Place. Today I'm going to share with you custom designs from TaylorMadeCards4U. It specializes in custom handmade greeting cards using vintage ephemera as well as digital images that she creates in her studio. And today I'm sharing the Harvest Fair pieces. It comes with a whole slew of pages and they print off just beautifully. And there's just so many options that you can do with this. It is labeled as a journaling set, but I actually decided to use some of the pieces to make a gift card holder and a card. My sister is a big fan of vintage type pieces as well, so I thought of her when I made these pieces. I'm going to use the gift card holder I created to give it to her for maybe Christmas or her birthday coming up. And so I just followed the cutout that's already set up. It's really easy to cut out. I have not used my brother scan and cut to see how that cuts out as well, but a lot of the lines are straight, and so it was really easy to cut around. And I did have some issues when I put folded the card holder together, and obviously it's a pretty big pocket, so you could do a lot of different things with this, especially with journaling. You could put photos or something in there. Be really fun to put little photo booth photos in there because have them sticking out the top. But I folded it up and scored it and made it so that I could put the gift card in there, and then I used the cute little guest checkout that you used to see at restaurants and stuff. I use that for to be able to write my sentiment on. And then I just when I put the folds together, it was lined up a little bit off. If I do it over again, which I can because these are digital, so I can print it again and do it again, but I would do it fold it a little bit differently. So to cover up where the fold didn't quite meet the edge like it should have, I got out this Tim Holtz kind of die that would cover up the edge on the corner and hide my kind of mistake, and yet not hide the girl picking the apples. I really didn't want to hide her at all, but I thought this would really give it a more vintage feel. And I used some of the paper that was in the set, and so that it would all coordinate. And I really like how it turned out. It looked really nice and kind of gave it some extra to it. And there's so many different ways that you could decorate this, but I just wanted to keep it really simple and let the papers themselves shine because they're just really great designs, and I just love the vintage look. So I used the other part of the apple page that I cut for the front corner, and then I used that to create a extension of a banner die, just so that I could give a little bit more length to it and have the apples popping out the top. And so I covered that up using the other half of the page with the girl with the apples, and used that as my back part of the die, and that's the part that I would put the gift card on. For my second project, I got my Honeybee Stamps Buffalo Plaid stencil set out that I just recently got, and I don't know what I'm doing with this Buffalo Plaid stencil. I don't know how it's supposed to lay, if you're supposed to do the stripes first or the squares first. I do know that it's supposed to look kind of like it's interwoven, and so I was trying to get that effect, but I wasn't really sure how to start out, so bear with me as I try and figure this out as best I can. I wanted to use some pastels because it'll give it a nice and soft look. I didn't want it to be a super obvious plaid. So I used the pastels that are basically chalks, and used a green that was kind of coordinating, and did the stripes vertically. And then I wanted to get some of that red in there from the apples, because once again I'm going to use that guest checkout card with the apples on it, and so I wanted to get some of that red in there. And so I decided to use the red for the check marks or the check boxes. I was a little concerned that it was going to look kind of Christmassy, so that was a concern, but I was like, well, I will try not to make it so red, so I did use the red that's a little more brown red and not the bright red. And I tried to go with a kind of a light hand on the red, and then I ended up moving the stencil and putting in yellow squares as well. And I wasn't, like I said, I'm not familiar with this stencil. This is the first time using it. Everything I had looked at has a little like lines going across the squares, so it would probably be better if I had the stamp set as well to give it that look. But I think it worked out. I was happy with it. Maybe it's not exactly a buffalo plaid, but it turned out to look like a plaid. So and the second thing I wanted to do to the background to kind of give it a subtle vintage kind of look was I used this older stamp set from Stampin' Up! That has the wheat in it, and I love how the background turned out. It was just kind of what I was going for. If I had thought ahead a little bit more, I would have laid the stamp of the wheat the other direction, because obviously the guest checkout card is too tall to go on the horizontal direction of the card. So the wheat isn't laying the direction I probably would have put it had I really thought it out more thoroughly, but it doesn't matter. It's a subtle background. You don't really know what it is exactly, so I think it's fine. But I just kind of played around with it. I wasn't sure how I wanted everything to be laid out, but I did want to use this as a thankful card or a thank you card, because at the bottom of the guest checkout it says thank you, so that's already on there. So I just added the Truly Grateful stamp from the Stampin' Up! Set, and once again, since I already had cut it out before to kind of see how it would work on the first project, I was like, well, let me just go ahead and use what I already have rather than discarding it. And so I cut out the rest of the way the little Tim Holtz die cut and used that on the corner as well. And I love adding string to projects. I just think it adds a little extra something, and buttons are super fun. They're not super convenient for mailing because you do have to use like a bubble wrap envelope or something, but I decided to go ahead and use one of these big old buttons because they're really vintage looking, and I just kind of went with the whole theme. Those are my two projects for today. There's a lot more I could be doing with this packet. There's just tons and tons of ideas, and I'm sure you'll find many other ideas on the hop. Thank you for being here, and be sure to read all the description so that you know how to be entered in the drawing, and be sure to check out TaylorMadeCards4U.com to see all of her creative vintage items available on her website too.